because it's just not fulfilling. Because ultimately we have to go back to work, we have to go back to school, we have to go back home, and the high isn't necessarily there. But what if that could change? What if the high was our everyday? What's up, guys? My name is George Lawrence. I'm coming to you. This is my first episode. I've been contemplating to do this for quite a while now. But basically, I want to inspire people to walk in their destiny, to walk in their callings, to share some of the lessons, some of the things that I've learned, to help us all do that through my travels, through time with family, time with people in church, time with people on the sports field, all walks of life. There's certain things that I've learned that I believe can help us all walk and basically just live more meaningful lives, because I believe it's something that we all want to do. We all want to live a meaningful and a purpose-filled life. And to start off, I believe that living a meaningful life, living a purpose-filled life, is looking at our own callings, looking at our own destiny, the path that we're walking on. And change starts with us. Change starts with an individual. I cannot expect you to do something and to change and to live in a certain way, to affect the world positively, if I am not doing it. I can't tell you to pick up a piece of paper if I'm not picking up pieces of paper myself. Simple example, but I think it gets the point across. And something that's just been on my mind the past while. Obviously, you can hear I'm a little bit under the weather. The seasons changing slowly have caught up with me, and I have a bit of a sinus infection. So sorry about the nasal voice tone that I have. But something that I've been thinking about recently is this utopia or mountaintop illusion that we have. But I think there's this thing that we continually, because of social media, because we've got Facebook, because we've got Instagram, because we're on YouTube, and I find myself doing this, very frustrated that I find myself doing this, as well as I compare myself to other people. I compare my journey to other people's. And I don't think it's fair on me or on them to compare our lives, because we come from different places, because we grew up in different ways, because we have a different skill set. And ultimately, I think all of us are unique, but we have different purposes, different callings, different ways that we need to contribute to this world of ours. So if I'm comparing myself to someone else, I'm doing myself and them an injustice, I believe. So this journey is ultimately what it is. It's a journey to find meaning in life. And there's a destination for sure, but we need to embrace the journey. We need to embrace the fact that today I'm taking 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, and ultimately, day after day, that's going to my meaning and my purpose and my significance in this life is going to grow if I'm taking the right steps. But what I find people doing is that they've got this goal, this utopia, this mountaintop that they want to get to, which is great, by the way. If you've got goals, if you've got a motivation, if you've got even a reward that you want to get to, that's fine, that's great, because that means there's purpose, that means there's energy, that means there's passions. But what I see is people looking to that idealistic world, that idealistic thing, and they're just not content with what's happening here and now. So we kind of start living from high to high. We start living from event to event. We start living from moment of ecstasy to moment of ecstasy. And unfortunately, enough is never enough. So we just keep in the cycle, and it lasts a couple of days, a couple of weeks, a couple of months. But we get in the cycle of it's good. We're living on the high, but then we crash because it's just not fulfilling. Because ultimately we have to go back to work, we have to go back to school, we have to go back home, and the high isn't necessarily there. But what if that could change? What if the high was our everyday? Or we could, rather to put it differently, we could rejoice in the everyday and the mundane. And I think the key to that is to realize firstly that the highs are not everything. The mountaintop experiences are not everything. They're great when they come, but they're not everything. Because I think you can testify and I can testify that every day of my life is not a mountaintop experience. Every day, every other day seems to be quite ordinary and mundane for most of us. So to realize that not every day is a high, not every day is a mountaintop, but secondly, to know and to actually be focused on being present on where I am now, here and now. To not just keep pursuing this utopian idea, this utopian goal, but to be present at what steps am I taking today? What am I doing here and now to become the person that I was called to be, to attain the skills that I should attain, to not compare myself to the people around me, but to actually be content of where I am here and now. And you might say to me, but man, like this is not, I'm present, I know where I'm going, I'm content, I've got things pretty well figured out, okay, and that's great if you do. But I want to ask you a couple of questions, like how many people's birthdays would you remember without Facebook? How many significant conversations would you have without a phone? How often do you allow yourself to be bored? When last were you bored? When last were you okay just to sit and just be? And that comes, I think, that follows on to, so the first point was embracing the journey. And embracing the journey, we don't want to just focus on the highs, but we want to be present to the everyday and the mundane, the here and the now. And the second thing that I want to say on that is that we need to understand our minds. We need to understand the context in which we live. Somehow, by some weird happening, I would say that this is also a pandemic, busyness, hurriedness, being overworked and tired has become a social commodity. And I don't understand how it has, but what I see, and we see it everywhere, is that, how's it going with you? No, I'm busy. What you been? No, I'm busy, I'm super busy, I'm the hustle. And what this has caused is us not to be able to be content, not to be able to sit still, not to be able to be bored. And I'll explain what that means now. So our minds, we have to understand our minds. And then there's this picture of our minds. And it's a picture of a lake. So if you could close your eyes and you could imagine this lake, there's not a wind in the air, there's not any stone or anything. There's like it's crystal clear water that is just completely smooth and untouched, basically. And suddenly this wind starts coming up. So there's perfect, like it's 100% calm and peaceful and serene, completely beautiful. And suddenly this wind starts coming, and the rain starts coming, and it starts picking up, and a storm develops, and it's howling, and all of a sudden this place of peace and serenity and calmness turns into a place of chaos and turbulence, and all of a sudden there's actually waves, being generated by the wind. And the amazing thing is that when the storm can dissipate, the storm can disappear, can stop, but the water won't settle down immediately. The water won't just go from turbulent to dead still in a moment, because it takes time. There's a residual effect on the water. And very much in the same way, our minds and our emotions are set in turbulence, are set. There's waves, there's ups and downs, there's motion. Sometimes it's not as bad as others. But because we're hurried and because we're busy and because we're continually stimulated, we never settle. It doesn't seem like there's ever a place of peace or serenity. There's never calm in our minds and our emotions. And this is where the boredom comes in. I asked, when last were you bored? When last did you allow yourself to be bored? And I don't think we can truly be bored anymore because we're stimulated so much. So I'm sitting here on the couch and there's nothing really on TV, and I say I'm bored. But the next thing I do is I pick up my phone and I search something on YouTube, or I search for an article, or I listen to some music, and I'm stimulated again. And what happens is all these voices and this busyness and the hurriedness and this pursuit of something good and something great, the cares of life, that, life is unfair. So, our bosses at work, or trouble at home, or friendships, or, maybe you're completely unsettled because, something serious like Black Lives Matter and racial discrimination, which should upset us and should stir our emotions and our minds, but to something like, your soccer team losing, or your football team losing, or whatever, and that stirs deep emotion. But there's constantly things that are stirring. But what we expect, because we live in an instant society, because we want everything now, and we actually wanted it yesterday, is we expect our minds to do the same. We expect just a moment of silence, or a moment we just step out of the storm and we want everything just to settle down. But unfortunately, it is not like that. And I think of the 15th, 16th, 17th century writers, who wrote poems and novels and stories and even told stories. It's still books and things that we are reading now, because I think my personal opinion is that they could articulate what we were feeling and what we were going through as humans, because they were quiet enough. There was enough silence to contemplate and to consider where I am, what am I doing, where am I going. And it's great to be focused and to take, these decisive steps and intentional steps in the right directions. Definitely we need to do that. But with that, there needs to be this balance of, when am I silent? When am I just letting my thoughts run down? When am I letting my emotions just settle? When we have an argument with someone and things are getting a bit heated and out of control, we say, let's just take a moment and let the emotions settle before we come together again. And when are you doing that for yourself? When are you doing that and saying, it is important for me to just be quiet and not be stimulated? And this is something that I do. And it's maybe a practical tip that I want to leave with us, is to take 15 minutes, 20 minutes, no phone, no music, no conversation, no internet, nothing. Just you and your thoughts, you and your emotions. And just let the storm settle. Let the storm reside. For I think in that we see a bit of clarity. I think there's so much truth in the psalm that says, be still and know that I am God. It's in this stillness, in this being quiet and not just jumping to whatever's next, that we experience something significant. For me, it's hearing God's voice. For me, it's understanding that God is Emmanuel with me. For you, it might be something different. But on this journey of seeking significance, seeking purpose, seeking meaning in our lives, let's embrace the journey. Let's embrace the everyday and the mundane. Let's rejoice and find joy in the small things, the things that are precious. And not only the highs, not only the ecstasy, not only the mountaintops. Let us be present to what is going on around us. Let us understand that our minds and our emotions need time to settle down. And if you would, I want to challenge you to build into your day or to your week just to be bored. Just to give yourself time just to think and almost recalibrate. I hope that you've enjoyed this. If you have and you've gotten value out of this, I would love if you could like the video. If you want to hear more of these things, these type of topics, I want to chat with people. I want to engage certain topics like Black Lives Matter, social issues, political issues. I want to talk about things that are real. I want to be authentic and real about what is going on in life and how can we all strive towards living meaningful, purposeful lives. And if there's something specific that you'd like me to talk about, you could comment in the comment box below. I would love to respond to your questions, love to respond to your statements, and also get ideas from you guys. Peace.